Iran just fired cruise missiles, drones, and small attack boats at US Navy warships and commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, simultaneously launching ballistic missiles and drones at the UAE that set an oil facility in Fujairah on fire and injured 3 Indian nationals. The US military blew up 6 Iranian attack boats using Apache and Seahawk helicopters, intercepted the missiles and drones, and says 2 American-flagged commercial ships have now successfully passed through the strait. Iran says that is a lie and that no ships went anywhere. The ceasefire that Trump declared terminated hostilities is now in serious question, and Trump himself, when asked directly whether it had been violated, said it was not heavy firing and that he was looking into it. Trump announced Project Freedom on Sunday, a US military operation to physically escort commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz and break Iran's chokehold on the waterway. He said 15 cells and service members, guided missile destroyers, over 100 aircraft, and unmanned platforms were involved. He said ships would be guided through freely and safely. Iran's response came within hours. Its military commander issued a public warning that any foreign armed force, especially the US military, that approached or entered the Strait of Hormuz would be targeted. Iran was not bluffing. As US warships moved into the strait to begin Project Freedom, Iran fired cruise missiles and combat drones at them. It launched small fast attack boats directly at US Navy ships and at the commercial vessels the US was attempting to protect. CENTCOM Chief Admiral Brad Cooper confirmed all of this on a call with reporters. He said US forces effectively engaged all missiles and drones fired at both American Navy ships and the commercial vessels. He said Apache and Seahawk helicopters destroyed 6 Iranian small boats that were threatening commercial shipping. He said no US vessels were struck and no injuries occurred on the American side. Iran state media denied the boats were sunk and denied any US ships successfully transited the strait at all. Simultaneously, Iran fired at the UAE. The UAE Ministry of Defense confirmed its air defenses intercepted 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones launched from Iran. Authorities in Fujairah reported a fire at an oil facility. 3 Indian nationals were injured. The UAE Foreign Ministry called it a flagrant violation of UN Security Council Resolution 2817, described the attacks as targeting civilian sites and facilities, called Iran's actions piracy, and said Iran bore full responsibility for the attacks and their consequences. Schools across the UAE, which had returned to in-person learning after shifting online when the war broke out in February, moved back to remote learning within hours of the strikes. Iran also fired on a South Korean cargo ship near the strait, which had nothing to do with the US-Iran conflict at all. Trump responded on Truth Social by calling on South Korea to join the mission, writing that Iran had taken shots at unrelated nations and suggesting Seoul send forces to help. The contradiction at the center of all of this is enormous. Just days ago, Trump wrote to House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Grassley stating formally that there had been no exchange of fire between US forces and Iran since April 7th and that hostilities had terminated. He told Congress the war was over. Today, US helicopters destroyed 6 Iranian boats in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran fired cruise missiles at US Navy warships, and an oil facility in the UAE was burning. When ABC News asked Trump directly whether the ceasefire had been violated, he said it was not heavy firing and that ships were moving. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent went on Fox News and called Iran's Navy a band of pirates while claiming the US has absolute control of the strait. Iran's position is that Project Freedom itself violated the ceasefire, that the US moving warships into the strait to escort commercial traffic was an act of aggression that justified the military response. Iran's military command said passage through the strait must be coordinated with Tehran, and that any vessel attempting to transit without Iranian authorization faces serious risks and will be stopped with force. The IRGC said no commercial vessels passed through the strait, directly contradicting CENTCOM's statement that 2 American-flagged merchant ships completed the transit successfully. Oil prices rose and stocks fell on the news. Oil analysts argue that average US gas prices could reach $5 a gallon if the strait remains closed. The UAE announced it would reassess the situation on Friday. The ceasefire has no formal enforcement mechanism, no third-party monitor, and 2 parties with completely opposite accounts of what just happened. Trump warned Iranian forces they would be blown off the face of the earth if they targeted US ships in the Strait or the Persian Gulf. Iran warned the US military it would be attacked if it entered the Strait. Both of those things happened today, and neither side is calling it a ceasefire violation.
الجميع الله يستر على الجميع الله يستر على الجميع الله يستر على الجميع الله يستر على الجميع يا رب يسترك
Đua lên lắm mày đúng không? Đúng mặt đó rồi lấy video lại đua lắm. Sắp vào. Nào vào. Nào vào vậy. Hả? Cái nào vậy? Cái nào vậy được?
Mama 빨리 làm gì? Đi ra sân đi gì? Đi.
Tell you how hot it is. Someone close the window. The cars, yeah, they have to wait to move the car.